Good evening, folks, and welcome to Here's the Deal. I'm your host, Shiloh, and of course, I got my trusty co-host with me, Mr. Marv. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Shiloh?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited about tonight's show with the guests that we have on tonight. Actually, I reached out to him a number of months ago to have him on when Luke was still on the show, and it didn't work out. But before we get into that and bring him on, I just have a couple announcements. So tonight, District 7 is going on right now at the North Dakota GOP building, their convention. District 16 out in Fargo has theirs going on Thursday, the 8th, at the Prax building there in Fargo. I don't know what time that one's going to be for sure. And then what else? What other ones do we have? District 14 will have them on the Friday the 16th, and their convention is that Saturday the 18th.
That's Sunday, I think. It'd be the
Or
8th.
yes, you're correct. Sunday, not Saturday. Apologize. And then District 2 will be in Tioga. Their convention will be in Tioga. The 24th, Saturday the 24th at 3 p.m. at the Tioga Community Center. And then District 1 and 23 are going to have their convention one right after another on Sunday the 25th. And I don't remember where that location is. I'll have to get that for you guys on Friday. So a busy couple of weeks here for conventions. So I encourage you guys to get out into your district conventions and get on as delegates, get elected as delegates, and support your candidates.
One thing real quick, Shiloh.
Sure.
With these conventions, I don't know what's going on with attendance, but they've been eerily low. District 47, we still have 8 open seats. District 25, I heard they had 11 open seats.
You're talking delegates?
Yep. So you guys need to get out to your conventions. We need to fill that place up. And it makes me nervous that we have all of our conservatives and patriots showing up for convention, and we're still having empty seats show up. So we got to be there. You want to support your candidates, this is the way you do it. So
you bet. So with tonight's show, we have David Short from the Short Ranch. And so we reached out, I want to say it's been like 9 months or so, to see if we could have them on, because we're dealing with another eminent domain problem here. And when we bring Dave on, we'll let him tell the story. But this has been going on for the better part of 10 years, I do believe, that he's been fighting with some people. And like I said, we'll bring him on here and he can tell the story. But I'm excited now that he reached out to us last Saturday and said that he could finally be on. And I think a lot of it had to do with litigation and stuff that they were in. And so now they got the okay to be on and talk about their story. So with that, I'm going to bring David on. Hey, there he is. Good evening, David. How are you?
How you doing, guys?
Doing pretty fantastic. How about you?
Appreciate the opportunity to tell our story.
Well, we're definitely excited to have you on. So, can you just start from the beginning, David? Introduce yourself and kind of talk a little bit about the ranch, how long you guys have had it, and we'll just go from there. We'll go from the beginning.
Well, you guys, thanks for just giving me a platform to tell our story. And I'm a little flushed because the problem is when you've been fighting this thing, and we've actually been fighting this, it really started popping its head in about 2010. And then 2012, we recognized that we were going to have to retain some type of representation with an attorney because we were going to be targeted by the county commissioner at the time, a guy by the name of Jim Arthod, and he was Medora's county commissioner. And I don't know if you guys or any of your viewers know the backstory, but my family we have a ranch north of Medora, North Dakota, and that's Billings County. And so my great grandfather homesteaded there in 1904. And at the time in 1904, he brought my grandfather, Don Short, who was a baby at the time, who eventually became a Republican congressman from North Dakota. And you guys, at the time he was in Washington, D.C., he was the only congressman in the United States that didn't have a phone. And I think that just says something to the remoteness of where we lived, where I grew up, where our ranch is, and, you know, what we kind of think is sacred land. It's been in our family since 1904. It's a cow-calf operation, a bunch of great river bottoms on the Little Missouri River. And so the whole backstory to this is that it really started 35 years ago. There's been certain people, mostly people involved with the oil industry, who always have wanted to get a bridge across the Little Missouri somewhere up where the oil traffic is. And before they got shut down, and I'll get back to the Elkhorn, they came up with the idea that hey, we're going to take somebody's land by eminent domain, or quick take is what it's actually done, what they call it in North Dakota. They always talked oil truck traffic. And I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but just placing the story in context on where we're going with this. And, you know, you can't take somebody's land for public use. You can't take private land for public use when it's just going to be for a private guy's oil trucking company. So they switched gears and pivoted. It's for safety. Well, anybody that knows anything about Billings County or the Little Missouri River, all the people live south of Medora. And there's plenty of river bottoms there. If it's about safety, that's where the bridge needs to go. And it's been really kind of a long story, long journey. And I guess I'd like to kind of like start at the top and then, or at the beginning, and you guys can ask me questions, because most people, you know, when I did an interview for Trent Luce, and, you know, most people are like, well, there's more to the story. And there isn't more to the story. They want to put a bridge north of Medora for oil truck traffic, nothing else. There's one sole purpose.
So, Dave, if I could just interrupt right quick. When they say there's more to the story, what do they, has anybody ever said what?
No, they just, no one can believe that the amount of corruption in a town the size of Medora, that they can actually get enough people to back the county commission. And when I say the county commission, you know, you guys, there's so much corruption. I don't even know where to start. So here's where it all went. The Elkhorn Ranch originally was owned by the Eberts. And if everybody who's interested in this, you know, I'd love to come back on. I can give more detail. I can give, you know, pictures, locations, everything. But to give you the basic story, the Eberts owned a ranch out north of Medora, north of the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. 35 years ago, they wanted to connect Highway 16 going north of Beach and Highway 85 going north of Belfield. And so 35 years ago, they built two roads, and they built them wide enough with big enough ditches to eventually blacktop. And actually on the Belfield side off of 85, they did blacktop it, I believe 10 miles, but they tore out the blacktop because, you know, they said to save money, but it's really because they want to put it across our land. And those two roads connect, 85 and 16 connect right at the river. And a family called the Eberts, they didn't want their land taken by eminent domain. And they came up with the plan to sell it to the federal government. And so they got a lot of different entities to buy it. And then the federal government bought it, and they turned it into the Elkhorn Ranch. Okay. Now, I want to make sure that everybody knows this, because the Billings County Commissioners are represented by the Vogel Law Firm and an attorney by the name of Tammy Norgard. And she, in my opinion, tells complete false statements and lies. And she keeps saying that the federal government wouldn't allow them to put the bridge there. That's not true. The citizens of North Dakota, they stepped forward and said, we do not want a bridge at the Elkhorn Ranch. Who wants all that oil traffic and dust and everything blowing all over the Little Missouri River bottom? And the problem is everybody says it's for the residents. Well, the residents have already spoken and they said they do not want a bridge. The roads are already there. They just got to connect them with a bridge. And so we were part of the group that has been for no bridge. We feel the Badlands, it's pristine. It's already been carved up all over for oil. And I want to make sure the Short family is pro oil. And you guys, I'm getting a little out of, I'm jumping ahead. I've told this story for so many years. And we went to federal court Monday before last.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have really not spoken public about this since we've been waiting for our trial. And I really want to tell the story accurately because really the background is as important as what's taking place right now today. But I'll keep moving along with, we were part of the group that were actively saying no bridge. We don't need the bridge. If it's for safety, all the studies have been done. There's an East River Road and a West River Road. You drive down to the interstate to go where you're going to go. I mean, that's just the way it is. And north of Medora, there's less than 20 residents total. None of them want a bridge. They don't want it on their land. And so when everyone defeated putting the bridge at the Eberts, the county commissioner at the time, he targeted our ranch. And he said publicly many times, he targeted our ranch because we're absentee owners. And we really take offense to that.
So I think that it's important too to mention that Jim Arthod, he's not only was he a county commissioner at that time, but if anybody's ever heard of Missouri Basin Incorporated or MBI, they were a big company, especially during the boom, and then they sold it off. So
yes, yep. And he publicly stated or boasted at many meetings that he is going to have over 1,000 trucks a day go over that bridge. And when somebody makes that boast in public forums, and your ranch is the one that is being targeted, you stand up. And a lot of the people that work for Jim Arthod show up at meetings and always are like, the Shorts don't live in North Dakota. They shouldn't have a right. They don't have a say in this. Our family's been paying property tax on that ranch longer than anyone else that's ever been on a public stage. And we take it personal. That's our family's ranch. We have been stewards of the land and of that property since 1904. It is a destination. You don't drive by it. You go to the Short Ranch. And I graduated from high school in 82, my brother in 79. When we graduated from high school, we were in one of the worst droughts in the history of that ranch. There was nothing. The trees died, the grasshoppers, they ate all the alfalfa down into the roots. I mean, it was barren. We had to sell our cattle. And at that time we were, I was married with 2 little kids, and, you have to have a job. And so our whole family ended up going elsewhere to find jobs. And because we've had careers elsewhere, doesn't change the fact we're born in North Dakota. We're raised on that ranch. That ranch is our family's. We've paid property tax on that ranch in Billings County since 1904. We want somebody in the Republican Party and somebody that gives 2 shits about property rights in North Dakota to step up and help us. And up until now, we have had zero, and I can't say zero help from anybody in the Republican Party. And part of it is because the county commissioner at the time, largest donor to the senators, largest donors. And so we have fought this, every penny of it, with the Short family money. And when I say that, everybody is like, what difference does it make? We just went to federal court, and it's like, what difference does it make if they gave up their right to sue the county? You guys, we all are working like everybody watching this program, and we have been targeted by the Billings County Commission, and we have had to spend our life savings trying to save our ranch from the Billings County Commission. And so part of this is overtime. So let's jump ahead to the most important part, and then we can go back in time and talk it all out.
Sure.
2010, 12 is when they started doing studies, targeted our ranch. We can get into the details, but it was all a corrupt scam. They got this. We can get into. I'd actually like to get legal advice first, because we're in federal court, before I say too much about the backstory until where we are right now. And,
Sure.
And then we can get into a lot of questions. I'm willing to answer everything.
Sure.
So the citizens of Medora realized there was some major corruption going on. That amount of money that is held in the Billings County, that's Billings County taxpayer monies. It's not the county commission's personal money. And it was being spent as if it was their personal money. And so the residents stepped up, and they voted Jim Arthot out and a guy by the name of Dean Rodney in. And Dean Rodney, pro-American, pro-property rights. You don't take somebody's land by eminent domain just so that there can be a public bridge for oil traffic to go across. And so then the county commission, Mike Kazian, county commissioner, county commissioner Mike Kazian, Dean Rodney, and a guy by the name of Lester Iverson. We came to agreement with them, and they voted 3-0 that they would not take our bridge by eminent domain, not take our land by eminent domain to build a bridge. Sorry, you guys, I get a little heated in this. I mean,
no, it's fine.
No, you're fine.
We have just tipped over $700,000 in fees, not including any of our personal time, protecting our ranch from somebody taking it for private use. And
So something
go ahead.
Something that you just said is interesting to me. There's only 3 people on the county commission in Billings County.
County commissioners in North Dakota are based on population, and all of Billings County is under 900 total residents. And so that's not that odd across America.
Okay.
So real quick to catch folks up on a couple things you've said while you were talking. Vogel Law Firm is generally known for representing the government when the attorney general steps out. I found a bunch of stuff on this earlier today, including at one point, I think it was in 2019, it was then U.S. District Attorney Drew Wrigley was supposed to be involved. And is that why Vogel's kind of representing him now, is because Drew's now our attorney general? Do you know?
No, it has more to do with Pat Weir is the state's attorney for Billings County, and Pat Weir's son runs the Vogel Law Firm. And then his stepdaughter is Marcia Lamb, who's the county auditor of Medora. And I think it has a lot to do just the relationships.
No, and it looks like the Prairie Blog, I don't know if you're familiar, but they have been meticulously tracking this thing forever.
Yes. And Jim Fugly the Prairie Blog has the best quick read on bringing any of your viewers just kind of up to date on where it is. It gives the kind of the story back to the early 2000s until present. And it's really a great quick read. It's way more articulate than I am. And you guys, and to all your viewers, this is the first time Trent Luce, his interview. I've really had, we have not talked about this publicly. So as you guys can tell, I'm a little bit like frustrated because we gave up our right to sue the county. We gave up every lawsuit, and we signed a contract that I hope you guys have posted to your viewers that the county put in writing that they would not take our land by eminent domain to build a bridge. And 2 years later, a guy by the name of Steve Clem, who's Jim Arthud's kind of roast about handyman, they got him elected. Mike Kazian's 80 years old, didn't want to run. He ran, but he didn't really want to be county commissioner. Great guy, got tons of integrity. And so then Steve Clem got in, and Steve's like, I'm going to get this bridge done immediately. And so they went back on their contract and did a quick take. And most of your viewers do not even know that this exists in the state of North Dakota. And quick take means they offer you a dollar amount for your land. And it just takes 2 out of the 3 to do that, commissioners. And they did a quick take on our land. It's not for sale. We don't want a bridge, and it's not for sale. We're not trying to sell our ranch. And when you reject that in the state of North Dakota, they wait 30 days, and then they deposit the money, and they take your land. And the county owns those acres now to build the bridge. And that's what we were in federal court for January 22nd, to have the federal Judge Traynor, step in federal court and stop this.
Now, I'm going to steal the screen for just a second so people can actually see where we're at, but you should be able to see this too. I did find a map of all the areas that MP Resources has bought around your guys' land here. That was off the Prairie blog. So if you don't mind, I'm going to grab that real quick. Just that way people can actually see what you're talking about as you're describing this. So this is the Medora Ranger District, folks. We're going to zoom it in a little bit here if I can. Oh, it doesn't really pull up the picture. So you have Buckhorn Butte, you have Teddy Roosevelt National Park, Elkhorn Ranch. All these X's, MP Resources has taken 70 sections of land, approximately 4,500 acres. They have leased the mineral rights underneath it. And in the middle of all these red X's, we have the Short Ranch.
Yep.
You guys are literally surrounded by the Matahay on one side, Medora on the other, and Teddy Roosevelt on either side of you guys. So you're dead center in the middle of all this. And you guys are definitely fighting.
How many acres do they want to take from you, Dave?
Well, they keep changing it and making it lower and lower. And so we really don't have a clear, at one time it was 66 acres and that was 40 acres. And, they're having a lot of trouble because Golden Valley County, this is literally their Billings County bridge to nowhere. I mean, when they talk about it in Alaska or wherever where the bridge to nowhere, there's more corruption in little old Billings County, North Dakota than anywhere else in the United States. Not one citizen can look somebody in the eye and say, we should spend $30 million on a bridge out across the Short Ranch that connects nothing to nothing. The only way they can get that bridge connected to anything on the west side of the river is they have to go into Golden Valley County. And unanimously, every Golden Valley County Commission has said this is complete and utter bullshit. And those are words that are quoted in papers day after day, anytime anybody talks to them. And so they don't even have anywhere to go once they get across if they get this done and get it into the west side of the river, there's no road there. And you guys, this wasn't because we're in the middle of all that oil. It's because we were absentee owners and we were targeted. If you go north of us, anybody that knows the Little Missouri River, anybody that knows that area, all the good river crossings are north of us. But they are all people that were living there and we're like, we're going to fight this. And some of them are super wealthy and they're like, we will get this stopped. And they're way better. Anybody that drives out there knows that area, that's been in the industry as far as oil field or, emergency services. Once you get right north of us, all those river bottoms flatten out and that's where all the crossings are. None of the crossings are our place. We were targeted.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. And Jim seems to have his money going pretty much everywhere too. I even saw it today. I was going through donations, and he's even donated to our current DPI, Kirsten Baszler, recently. Last 2 cycles. So, it's crazy that you're not getting more help, considering we're already fighting land take. We got carbon capture ripping across the state. We already had pipeline fights. And 2010, that was the last big boom, but I'm sure they're pushing hard now because now they're trying to bring more people in to work the rigs and get that up and running again. And
Marvin, we're pro oil. If anybody, you guys, I'd love to get a bunch of just pictures so your viewers could see where we are. We have let them carve up our entire ranch to put, to drill. And our family doesn't own very many mineral rights underneath all of our property. We're pro oil. I travel for a living. I'm on an airplane. I want us to be able to, drive cars. I'm pro oil.
Yep.
What I am, I'm pro American. In the United States of America, one man just being a county commissioner does not mean he can target one family to put in his own personal bridge. That is not that's not American. And you guys, my grandfather was a Republican congressman. We've been a Republican family, and everybody's always like, well, you got to get more Republicans. I'm like, well, the Republicans are the ones targeting us. I'm like, in North Dakota, you don't have anybody to go to because the Republicans, there's not a senator that's going to step up and help us. Armstrong, he grew up, his dad had a ranch north. We want him to step up and say, this is bullshit. You cannot take somebody's land by quick take, eminent domain, for taking private land for public use under the ruse that's really going to be just oil trucks. If it's for public use, it needs to go on public land. And in western North Dakota and along the Little Missouri River, there is public land. If they want a bridge, put it across the park. Now, again, I want to make sure that all your viewers know this. Our family is anti-bridge. And anti-bridge on the Eberts land, on the Elkhorn land. Go ahead.
No, we got a little chatter there. I don't even know where that was from.
Yeah.
Oh, but no,
because some people think we're those guys don't want oil. And we're like, this has nothing to do with oil. This has to do with owning property in the United States and having 2 people target your land and take it by eminent domain.
Yeah, everything I've seen, everything I've read on you doesn't seem like you're anti-oil at all. It's more of, no, you're not going to come rolling through my property. And not far north of you over in Dunn County, there was a similar situation where they literally have wrapped a road around an electrical pole where they're trying to do eminent domain to go bowling down through somebody else's ranch.
Well, I think Steve Klim lives on a farm north of Freiburg. Does he want 1,000 people driving across his front driveway?
No.
Lester Iverson, does he want, would he let me take his front land, his land right in front of his house. You guys, this severs our headquarters from the rest of our ranch. It comes right down and severs our headquarters from the rest of our ranch. And so I want to make sure that I want to get back to clarity on where we are with this. We had this stopped. We had a contract with Billings County in writing. We gave up all of our rights. And I really want you to show that contract to all your viewers, because this contract, the Billings County Commission, 3 of them voted unanimously for it. Okay. We have it recorded. They all voted yay. And then they get a new commission in and they're like, a contract's not good with anybody if a county writes it. New commission, we're not held to that. And we're like, wait, what? We gave up all of our lawsuits going through the court system, and we also gave up our right to sue for damages. And we've heard, they've all said they gave up like $500,000. And you're like, okay, we gave up $500,000 in attorney's fees that we had to spend defending, stopping somebody from taking our property.
So when this contract came up, what did your attorney say? I'm like, they were for you taking it, or what was their? What do
you mean? Ask that question again.
What was your attorney's thoughts on the
contract itself?
On the contract itself.
Well,
so I think this is the contract, Dave, right? The settlement agreement.
Yep. And I encourage you guys, post that. I mean, we're proud of it.
We actually have it up on the website, so people can. I have this first page up. I'll get the rest of it later. But
thank you. Well, and we wanted to make sure that you saw the county commissioner, Mike Kazian, his signature, and then also Marshall Land, the county auditor.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'll get all the pictures posted for that onto the page for tonight. But yeah, we do have this initial page. The now therefore the party stipulations, like this whole whereas is all up there. So people can
and so you guys, we thought it was over. I mean, our family went on living our lives. We thought it was over. I mean, if it's for emergency services, it needs to go south of Medora. I mean, that's where the people are. And, there's lots of river bottoms we can all pick out if they want to have emergency services. And, the thing is, it's not a secret on where the flat river bottoms are, you guys. It's just a matter of who's going to get targeted. And so we thought it was completely over. And then Steve Clem, and by the way, you guys, Steve Clem, his wife is the CFO for the Medora Foundation, the old gold seal. And, I question, so Theodore Roosevelt National Park, the town of Medora, the West, and yet the CFO's husband is the one targeting our ranch. And Medora was some of my best memories of my whole life. A couple of years ago, our grandfather, Don Short, got inducted to the County Hall of Fame. I mean, you guys, I have nothing but great memories of Medora. That's where I grew up.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that now the foundation, the CFO's husband, is targeting our ranch to build a bridge for oil trucks. I mean, if that doesn't make you want to throw up in your mouth, I mean, I don't know what else does.
Yeah, and somebody just brought up the governor is a big part of that park too. I mean, with the museum that they're putting in, but I think he's even put in his 2 cents on your guys' land, hasn't he?
No, he has never commented.
I could have swore I saw something where he was referencing what was going on out there. I'll have to go.
As far as we know, he never has. Okay, I'm glad you brought up the library. Perfect example. You know what? You know whose land they took to build the library?
Whose?
Federal government. And why? It's for public use. If they want a bridge across the Little Missouri, North of Medora, put it on public land. There's a ton of federal land north of Medora. I mean, is it that important, you guys? I mean, there are, well, emergency services. I'm like, okay, get the governor to take that federal land like they did for the library. And by the way, I'm for the library. If everyone, if the community wants the library, I'm for the library. I'm not against anything in the realm of you don't take, if Steve Clem, if tomorrow an oil company wanted to take his property and drill a hole or, drill a well right down the middle of his house, I would stand up and defend Steve Clem. I would. I believe that someone that owns property has rights. And again, no, that was a bad example because I know in North Dakota, the mineral rights have more power than the surface owner rights. But I don't care who's targeted. I would stand up and defend them.
Yeah, what's right is right, and what's wrong is wrong.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a generational ranch, very few people can say that. I mean, very few people can say that this has been in your family for 120 years. And you guys want to keep it that way probably for another 120. So, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's what is so funny about this argument, that because we all live out of state, and we don't make any excuses about it. Again, I graduated from high school in 1982. I grew up in Beach, North Dakota, and out on the ranch. I lived out on that ranch and then went to school in Beach. There were no jobs. There was nothing. I mean, it was in 1982, and anybody that graduated in 1982 that is watching this knows, like, we had to go somewhere. I had a wife and 2 kids. And
well, in 82 is pre the first real big oil boom when that first one hit out in Dixon.
No, post.
Was it post?
It had boomed and then crashed.
Yeah.
That's when they were stacking oil rigs everywhere. I worked in the oil field when I was in high school. I worked on a rig.
I think a lot of people would be surprised.
Yeah. No, and I get it. We understand you're not against it, but it seems like the ebb and flow of what's going on. I mean, 2010, that was the Bakken. That was where we first saw the fracking. That was the first real big boom of this century. And so, I mean, we all felt it. I mean, even as far out as Bismarck here, just the housing market, how drastically it expanded overnight. Houses were selling at twice what their cost was. I mean, Williston, Tioga, Dickinson, Medora. I mean, everybody felt the pain of that boom because it came in so hard and so fast. Now, I love our natural resources. I love our industry because it's one of those things that makes North Dakota a self-sustaining state. But to take your ranch, I mean, like, how can you want to go back to, like, say you guys want to retire out there, you got kids that want to take over and actually go back to ranching it. Now you got this road running straight through your yard, essentially.
Correct.
You got grandkids out there, you got everybody else out there. I mean, that's an accident waiting to happen too.
I really feel that this time, finally getting our day in federal court with Judge Traynor, I think he will step in and stop this and give us an injunction where we can actually get a trial in federal court and prove that this was all corrupt. This goes back to a company called KLJ, Cattermas, and Jackson. They're the engineering firm.
Mm-hmm.
They had a gal by the name of Jennifer Turnbow who worked for them. And in my opinion, she was one of the most corrupt people behind it all. And wherever Jennifer Turnbow goes, the county commission hires her. They just hired her as the engineering firm on the bridge again. And so she went from KLJ, got a job at the DOT magically. Wonder how that happened. And then when the bridge got shut down, she went to a different engineering firm. Well, 2 years later, the bridge comes back. Who do they hire? Jennifer Turnbow. And the biggest thing, okay, Billings County, they don't go out for an RFP for an engineering firm. They just give it to her. And I don't know how it works in the rest of the world, but in Billings County, they don't have to go out for an RFP. They just can say, we'll hire whoever we want. Doesn't matter how much we spend.
Well, and it's technically supposed to go by contract. We had a comment come in, David, your mom is an amazing woman. She did great in court. So, like,
she really did. Yeah.
Fans in our audience here, boss.
And you guys, I want to make sure I'm not commenting. I mean, I'm a little bit scattered because I got to be really careful. I don't want to do anything to offend the federal judge. And I've never been to federal court. I didn't get a chance to talk to our attorneys. Both of them have called me just now. I'm assuming they want me to be very careful about what I say. And I'm not going to talk about anything that took place in the hearing.
No,
I respect the federal judge and you guys. And, Shiloh, when you and Luke called me and I just said, hey, we're trying to do the best we can to win this case. We never dreamed we'd be back in court. We never dreamed we'd be fighting this again. I mean, you guys, we literally as a family said, okay, we're going to give up all our right to sue. We're going to give up our lawsuits going through court. And one of the biggest things is KLJ, they supposedly did an EIS, environmental impact study, but they never did the study. In my opinion, they faked all the documents. They didn't fake the documents. They just didn't do the study. They still wrote all the documents in this weird binder book that no one has ever seen, that some company does an environmental impact study. Again, in my opinion. And part of it is we spent a fortune to get into court proving that this was a fake study. Jennifer Turnbow, again, in my opinion, is the person behind all this, who's now at another engineering firm that the county, Lester Iverson, Steve Clem, Dean Rodney always votes negative. They're like, we're just going to hire again. And then, now anything to do with the bridge, Pat Weir, the state's attorney, makes them go to executive session. So no one in the public knows what's said behind closed doors. But they've hired Jennifer Turnbow again to go after, target our ranch again.
Well, they kind of got slapped on the fingers here a while back for having breach of open meeting records, because they brought them all in and brought them in to talk to the attorney one at a time, thinking that wouldn't violate.
Yes, once again, thanks to Jim Fugly for bringing it up.
Oh, I spent all day on his site. I mean, Jim's done an amazing job chronicling this. So
Jim's the only guy that goes there and isn't afraid to put it into writing. Most of the residents of Billings County, I mean, they are too nervous to talk about it. They do not want the retaliation on, stepping out of line on, whatever is said, they toe the line.
Yeah.
See, and that's really too bad, because if you think about it, if neighbors can't help neighbors and stick up for neighbors, that's a crime in itself. But I mean, I think a lot of that, though, is people nowadays, especially as uninvolved as people are, they don't really know their rights and what they can and can't do.
Yeah, but it's not about that. I mean, they're people that want this bridge, and they're powerful, and they have money, and they will target those people and punish them. I mean, there's millions and millions of dollars at stake with this. And hey, I do want to go back to my mom. She is a rock star. There was only 3 people on the stand in federal court, and she was, she's 85 years old. She and my dad met at Iowa State, and first time she went to the ranch was in 1958. And, she raised us out there. She sat in that kitchen and looked out the window, and, Jim Arthod said he personally picked the bluff they're going to tear down so that, they wouldn't remove the feedlot, and the road is within 50 yards of the feedlot. Well, I don't know if anybody's been in Western North Dakota with scorio roads, 1,000 oil trucks a day. Yeah, no, you didn't ruin the feedlot. You ruined the entire river bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, like, come on. And so my mom has been steadfast, that you guys, we feel that, we feel it's bigger than just us. We feel that corruption, you guys, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. That's just where my life, work ended up taking me. And, I'm part of down here seeing the border crisis. And, I travel frequently. I go to the airport and they've just got these illegal immigrants just lined up. And you're like, wait, I got to get a cavity search. And that guy just gives a piece of paper and gets on a plane. I'm against corruption, but at the border, what's going on with the new Senate bill that just came out, that's not any more corrupt than what's going on in Billings County. It's just a different form of corruption. And, everybody asks me, they're like, we don't get it. What is so important about this bridge over the Little Missouri River? And there's only one thing: trucks hauling water for fracking oil wells. If that didn't exist, this bridge would be dead. No one would even know about it. We don't need a bridge. You guys, north of Medora, I got to be careful about population because Ben Simons lives out there. And, he has about a kid a year. And so I think he's got 11 people living on his place. How many kids does he have out there now?
Yeah, somewhere in there. 11 or 14.
And so I think north of Medora, and this could be off a little bit. It used to be 23 and they moved off, and then it was down under 20 total residents north of Medora on the river. $30 million bridge for that.
Well, and here's the other thing, and this is why I want you guys to keep fighting this fight, David. I know it's been long and exhausting for you, but what's going on right now, folks, would set a very dangerous precedent. And you don't realize that, because if the county is allowed to take his land using this quick take, even after they've signed contracts saying that they're not going to use eminent domain and stuff like that, it can be used as a future reference for other court cases. So, like,
they're going to base it off of it.
David's fight right here affects everybody in the state. It affects all of our viewers.
Yes,
absolutely does.
It does. You guys, in the state of North Dakota, 2 county commissioners, if they want your land and there's a 3 county commission, those 2 guys can get together and they can take your land. And how it works in North Dakota, they don't have to have a reason. They can take your land, and it is your job. You have to go to court and prove they can't take it. It's not the other way around. They don't have to have any reason to take it. You, as the landowner, has to hire an attorney and take this to court and prove they don't need to take it. It is back-ass words. And we're hoping, you guys, our family is prepared to go anywhere we have to go in court to stop this. And that's not a boast. That is, we feel that this law needs to be changed in the state of North Dakota.
Absolutely.
Quick take needs to go away. And if we hope someday a big legal fund will help us, and again, I always hate to bring politics into this thing, Democrat or Republican, because, in Western North Dakota, we all know it's the Republicans that are the corruption, not the Democrats. There are no Democrats out there. And right is right, wrong is wrong. And again, I'm a Republican. I grew up in a Republican family. I thought the Republican Party stood for property rights, but they don't. You can't believe the leaders of North Dakota that have said, well, if it's to move oil trucks, we might need to take their land. And you're like, how can you even say that? You guys, I want to make sure I've not been very articulate this whole hour. I really need to have, I need to meet with our attorneys and know what I can say publicly.
You
And I
bet.
really am trying to be careful because I don't want to do anything to jeopardize our case in federal court. I mean, you guys, we literally we have spent now over 700,000 defending our ranch. And you guys, you know how many people call us up and they're like, why don't you sell it? And it's not for sale. I mean,
Shouldn't have
why don't
to.
you sell your house, Marvin? Like, it's not for sale.
Yeah.
And it's not for sale. And so it's not about somebody offering us, I'm sure, people have heard Jim Fugly wrote a little, a blog about the county offered us, originally they offered us like $1,200 an acre. And it was funny because we had a meeting you guys, again, I want to go at some point, I want to tell the whole story going back in time.
Yep.
They targeted our ranch. We never had a single person from the county contact the Shorts, not one time in over a decade. Not one time. I've got maps. I've got this map that shows the KLJ's locations. They're all in the Short Ranch. And so they targeted our ranch. And in my opinion, Jennifer Turnbow, she'd have a meeting. We would get our papers in the mail after the meeting that they were going to have a meeting. And, it was all structured so that the Shorts were never aware of it. We had enough family, of course, to let us know, and we were at all the meetings. And so when we fought this, we finally get the new commission in and they want to talk to us. And they're like, hey, what has been going on for all these years? And we're like, we got targeted. And so we sat down with them, and it's kind of bizarre because even at the time, in my opinion, we had two county commissioners, Mike Kazian, Dean Rodney, against the bridge, but we still had the Vogel law firm that's like, we got to get the bridge. And you're like, well, that attorney works for you. Why does she want the bridge? Oh, this is my opinion.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not even sure it's free to have public speech anymore.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big thing, folks, because obviously, David, we get it. You're still in litigation. You're still in court.
Yeah.
If you want to know more, the Prairie Blog, you got to go read this story. Jim has done a fantastic job journaling this for you. It sounds like he's even gotten sued by Jim Arthod and somebody else about what he's been writing about, because I like to fact check. And so as I was reading this morning, I fact checked the first couple articles, and after that, it's like he hasn't deviated from anything that he's saying here. So there's no reason for me to spend all afternoon fact checking. I just read the articles. And we get where you're at. We get the scatterbrained. We get the don't want to say too much because anything you can say will be used against you in a court of law.
Right. Every story I want to tell you guys, I'm like, oh. So they came up with.
We can do a series, David. We can be on a few times.
Once this is done, let's do a series. We'll pre-record a couple shows where you can just tell your story beginning to end, because people need to hear it.
And I think that excuse of, well, you live out of state, that's such a horseshit excuse if you ask me, because how many of our landowners in North Dakota live out of state?
Everyone on the Little Missouri River.
Bill Gates lives out of state.
What's that?
Bill Gates lives out of state. He bought that farm up by Grafton.
Markham doesn't live on his ranch.
No.
Jim Arthod lives in Scottsdale, and he doesn't live on his ranch. You guys, I wanted to bring up the 20,000 because a lot of people have heard, well, the county offered you 20,000 an acre. Are you guys greedy? And first of all, the land is not for sale. And second of all, it's not $20,000 an acre for our ranch. They've carved that, it was 66 acres, then 40 acres. The 20,000 is just for the road. And if you've got a house and your house is worth, let's pick a round number, $100,000, $500,000. So your house is worth $100,000, and somebody wants to offer you $20,000, but they only want the bathroom in the middle of your house. You sell them the bathroom so the traffic can come in and go. And so when we turned the 20,000 down, that was the whole play to then take it by a quick take, because we'd already said it's not for sale. We've already signed a contract with the Billings County Commission right there in a unanimous vote. Their signatures are on it. How long is a county's contract good? So a county, Billings County, a guy, our neighbor across the way, Luke's brother, Ben Simon.
Ben, yep.
So he took the money. Okay. He took the 20,000 an acre.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, we do not fault him. He's a young man. He's got a young family. He bought a new ranch. We want Ben to do and flourish however he can. But I cautioned him. This county commission feels that they never have to adhere to a contract. Okay. Contract's not good. Their attorney, the contract's not good. How long is that contract good for? So I'm going to give two examples. So we dropped all our lawsuits. We can never sue the county. So then Ben Simons, he agrees to 20,000 an acre. He's got a contract that he gave up his land to the county for 20,000 an acre. The next commission comes in and says, we're going to give Ben $1 an acre, or we're going to give him $1 for all his land. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter. They already own it. What's he going to do? Well, that contract is not good. What contract is good with Billings County? Name a contract. So a guy comes in, one of the big county commission meetings, we sat and listened to the county stress and go over bids about residing the old courthouse. So then that was the old county commission. So they hire a subcontractor to side that courthouse. Steve Clem and Lester Iverson don't like that guy, and they can just say, we're not going to pay him. We're the county. A contract's not good with us. We can break any contract we have that was a legal document. Our attorney prepared it. Their attorney prepared it. You've seen the letter. Pat Weir, state's attorney, who was a judge in Western North Dakota, they all approved it. We gave up all of our rights. So then that contract's not good? How does that work? What is Billings County's work? What is Billings County Commission? Who wants to do business with them? If two guys, Lester Iverson, Steve Clem's like, I don't give a shit. We're not going to pay that guy that sided the courthouse. And those two vote 2-1. Dean Rodney, who's a stand-up guy and his word is good, he's going to vote against him. But it doesn't matter. It's 2-1. So then they don't pay any of their contractors anymore? I mean, I don't even know how does the county government continue to exist if everything involved with them is corrupt?
Yeah, and that's
a good question.
That's what really kind of blew me away, was the fact you guys have a 3-member commission. You think, I know it's based on population, but 5 people having a discussion versus 3 where 2 are best buds, we see it all across the state, whether it's Gibbs Township or whether it's up in Benedict, North Dakota, or whether it's in Billings County. Like, we're seeing this all over, folks.
Well, here's an example too, Marvin. So what'd you say, David? There's 900 people in Billings County?
Yeah, about roughly, not quite.
Okay, so there's 850 or so, give or take a couple, according to our last census right here in the town of Ray. We still have a 5-member city commission. So,
you guys, I have so much on my plate fighting this battle.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff, what was so interesting is being in Bismarck for federal court. I was at the geez, easy for me not to say. You guys, in my red Solo cup, shout out to Toby, Toby Keith. It's just water, but I need a little something harder. I did not know I was going to get this riled up, and I just know that only because both attorneys have called me and text me. I'm like, they're like, keep your mouth shut. Like, don't say anything, because first of all, you guys, we respect that Judge Traynor, who's a federal judge, would take our case. We know that we've got to be in federal court to get a fair shake. And I mean this sincerely. We really appreciate and respect our opportunity to get there. And I don't want to say anything, that it could be used against us. And this, you guys, this is all really, really well documented. Everything I'm saying is factual. There's nothing, Jim, it's always hard because it's Jim Arthod, Jim Fugly. They're all guys with the same name. Jim Fugly loves the Badlands. He doesn't write this for any other reason that he loves the Badlands. And haven't we given enough of the Badlands to oil pads and roads?
Right.
It's just nonstop. You guys, I spend most of my time in Western North America. And, seriously, you guys, do we need to give, in the technology of today, do we need to give pad sizes as big as they are? I mean, come on, we can turn a semi around in a small pad. This goes on and on and on. Like, we've given enough to produce oil that we all want. And Jim Fugly's a guy who's really stood up and said, someone's got to write about this. And the Eberts won clear back in the early 2000s, but the Shorts have not. We have been targeted and we still have not won. We're still fighting again after we thought finally it was over and just put this to bed once and for all. And you guys, anybody could read in the Dickinson Press with the Golden Valley County Commissioners being quoted. Everything I'm saying, I personally know the Golden Valley County Commissioners. They're like, we don't need the traffic. There's no reason for the bridge. If there's ever going to be a bridge, it's got to go up at the Elkhorn. They need to go up to the Elkhorn if they want to connect those two roads. And again, I got to be careful when I say that. I'm not for a bridge at the Elkhorn. My family, we have always been no bridge on Indian's land. And, Mike Kazian and Dean Rodney, when they voted, and actually Lester Iverson voted with them unanimously. I gotta say this because this is public information. The county auditor, her name's Marcia Lamb, and she's in that meeting right there. They all vote unanimously, yay. It's all, we've recorded it. My sister was there, recorded it. And then, of course, he was in trouble because he was supposed to vote against it. Well, the next meeting, he came back in and said, hey, I want to change my vote. The very next meeting on public record, everybody's there. He's like, I want to change my vote. But Marcia Lamb, the county auditor, you know what she did? She sent out press releases to all the papers and said the vote was 2-1. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's not a mistake. It was a lie. And that lie is perpetuated. They send documents out still, and I'll bring those documents if we ever talk about this again. And Tammy Norgard, again, the Vogel law firm, what she does is she takes farmers' ranches and land by eminent domain. That's what she does as an attorney. And she still says that same thing. Well, it was a 2-1 vote. It wasn't a 2-1 vote. It was a 3-0 vote. All 3 county commissioners unanimously voted to not take our land. It was recorded. We have it on a recording. And she called for 2 votes. And Lester had to say yay again. And a month later, he comes back in to change his vote to no. He said, I shouldn't have voted for it. And, you could bet he got his ass chewed. And I need to be able to tell you guys about more and more of the corruption. Another thing that happened, again, the county auditor, Marshall Lamb, when the new county commission came in, Dean Rodney, you guys, I'm not an accountant. I'm not going to do the records law and find out. But all of a sudden, it was anywhere from 13 to $20 million that was never accounted for 2 years. Somebody involved at Billings County, in my opinion, just magically forgot to put it on their balance sheet. And then the new commission gets elected. Oh, boom, we found that money. And I would love one of your viewers to spend some time digging into this, because again, not on a balance sheet, and then boom, it just magically appears.
What was that Josh turned up? Was that Dickinson? Was that 3-4 years ago, Shiloh, where they had $30-40 million that showed up with the state audit?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think there was a seated legislator on that county commission.
And guys, I've never gotten into North Dakota politics. I mean, I just haven't. I don't want to be involved in North Dakota politics until you guys, hopefully someday, I'll be able to move back to the ranch and have enough money that, I can retire, like we all hope.
Right.
Yeah, well, then we'll get you to run for legislature so you can.
No. There's no politics in my future ever.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what I said too. And then 4 years ago, wow, here I am. So, well, I really do appreciate your time, David. I know that there's a lot more that you'd like to say, and let's keep in touch here. And as your court case goes on and stuff, and after you can say more, definitely we'd like to extend that hand anytime you want to be on and let give us an update and stuff, because this is a really important issue in North Dakota. Obviously, we've got like Marvin said earlier, the carbon capture deal going on, and
yes,
and with all that, and they're talking eminent domain there as well. So, but here in the next couple minutes, is there anything else that you would like to say for our viewers to know, or anything like that before we end here this evening?
I started saying I was in Bismarck for the federal hearing, but the Northwest Landowners Association meeting was there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on a panel. And what I realized is that everybody fights their problems everywhere, especially with the carbon capture. And
Mm-hmm.
I raised my kids in central Iowa, where my mom was from. And, that's kind of where it stems at the beginning of that. And you forget that everybody else is fighting their own little battle. And the Short family has not done a good enough job getting it out to the public about what really is taking place. And most people in the state of North Dakota have never even heard of quick take. And quick take literally is, if a majority of county commissioners want your property, they can take it. And all they have to do is give you an offer, you reject it, they can put that money into an account, into a trust, and 30 days later, it's their land. And then you, as the landowner, has to, of course, fight it. You've got to get an attorney and prove somehow and get a judge to step in and say they can't take it. And it almost is mind-boggling that there is a law that allows that. And I know someone can come on and say, well, here's why we need the law, to do I don't have a good example.
No. And I get where you're at, because even just the bid process, the proper bid process is defined in Century Code. They're supposed to put it out publicly for X amount of days. After that, they're supposed to bring it back. They're supposed to review all bids. So you've already illustrated that this bid for this bridge is moved. It's shifted. It's following the person, and they're not rebidding it every time they get to the end of it. So that's a defined law in Century Code, that any public project, and since they're saying it's a public project, must be bid. They're violating that. They violated open meeting laws. There's plenty that's there where the entire situation is very shady, so to speak. And we see it, we hear it coming from across the state. So
Mhm.
I understand where you're at, where you want to talk about it. You really want to talk about it, but because of what you got going on, you got to like pump the brakes every 30 seconds, or otherwise somebody's going to come through the phone at you.
Yeah.
That's there. So, but it's really, we see it over and over again. We see it over and over again, where we've gone so long with these commissions, these school boards, these city commissioners being able to do whatever they want, or these legislators being able to do whatever they want, that they just ignore the rules. JLG at one point was pretty much exclusive for rebuilding or for designing every school that was getting built across the state.
Mhm.
They're an architecture firm that's based out of Grand Forks. That one of the founding members was a legislature. So, like, we see it.
Yes.
So,
Shell, do you have any questions for me?
Do I? No, I think you answered pretty much everything that I was. You touched on everything I was going to ask you about the neighboring county, and you hit that, and so pretty much everything that we've talked about, I think you've answered fairly well. So, or
And you guys, I'm happy to put together all the contracts. I encourage anybody to Google Earth the Short Ranch, just north of Medora on the Little Missouri River,
yeah,
and then pull out and go, they're going to build a bridge there for what? And then you got to scratch your head and go like, so not in Fargo Moorhead, not in Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, Bismarck, Mandan. No, the Short Ranch to nowhere. And I mean, it doesn't make sense to anybody. Anybody involved with that area, from beach to anywhere out in the West. They all know that area, and they're like, what's anybody thinking? Like what if if the county's got $30 million burning a hole in their pocket, shouldn't they do something that's for the good of the county?
you would think.
I mean, you would hope. I mean, you hope that's how it works with county government.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in direct comparison, you know your guys' land.
Mhm.
Out here when I testified against the carbon pipeline, part of where they're running that pipeline is running across land that I grew up on. They say they do these surveys, but when you grow up there, you know where the shifting clay is, you know where the hills are, you know where those soft spots are that you're only going to see during wet season. And so, like, for you guys, I mean, you're on the Little Missouri. You can't tell me you don't see an overabundance of wet at time down there too.
Yes.
But,
Mhm.
but you guys know your land. The locals know their land. So when they show up for these meetings and they speak out against this stuff, like, there's a reason. It's not just because they don't want you there. Granted,
Mhm.
there's no bridge, but it's asinine to think that you're going on this many years of this without somebody else stepping in to help you guys out.
Is
Mhm.
someone, and I don't know who that someone is. You guys, I have 4 pictures over here that would give somebody just a visual. Let me just see if I'm intelligent enough to get this over here. And if you guys want to, and we can just show them quick. We'll see if I'll be able to pull these over. Let me see how this works.
It's okay. It's a learning process around here. We're still getting used to pushing buttons, boss.
Yeah, especially me.
But no, anything that you can publicly share that's cleared by your attorneys, if you want to get that sent over to us, I'll
Yep.
put together something for you too to go up on the website.
Well, can you guys see any of these or not?
So if you hit present on the bottom and
Yeah.
then share screen,
Yep.
and then it's going to ask you which screen you want to share. If you hit it, It should come up. Did I say that correctly, Marv?
Yeah. You're learning. It only took me a month, David, to get him to quit clicking his pen.
Can you guys see this? But I don't know how to get just one bigger.
No, just zap them through to me, David, after the show here, and we'll add it to your guest archive for today.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That way people can
People
see.
can look at them and just see, to actually, so they understand what
Right.
they see the personal side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything that we can do for you whenever you want to be on again, please reach out to us. And like I said, I've got another name of someone I'd like you to reach out to and get with her and let her interview you as well, because she's on the other side of the state, and I think that would be good for you. So
You guys, I sincerely appreciate this. I
No,
do. And
anytime.
I
You don't
can
need to thank us.
apologize to anybody who's been watching this that I did not I didn't get a hold of either of our attorneys, and I had told them I would, and I've been busy, they've been busy, we didn't connect, and so I'm giving a big apology that I probably was not as articulate and as methodical going through the kind of history as I hoped I'd be.
We got to start going, right? And then that's what we're doing. We're trying to get information out there and getting this on the map. So,
well, just off my personal page, David, just so you know, I've already had 39 shares on this. So, yeah, 39 shares have already gone out. So, and that's just one of the 8 places we're streaming.
I love it. Thank you.
You bet.
You're
Anything that we can do for you, David, you let us know.
Okay. I really appreciate it, you guys. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Absolutely.
David Short from the Short Ranch. So thanks again.
Thank you.
God, that's really tough.
Yeah, it's a tough deal. But so let's do our final thoughts, Marvin. We got a little bit of a breaking news, if I could say that. It's probably not breaking anymore. It's been a couple hours, but
heard about it, they're not listening.
What's that?
And we're at the end of the day. If they haven't heard about it already, they aren't listening. They're just getting done with work.
So earlier this afternoon, it came out that the Wilson School Board, their president, Chris Junt, was going to come out and resign his position as president on Monday. And so a couple hours after that, I posted this 3 hours ago on our Here's the Deal Facebook page. He indeed has a statement out, and it says, Mr. WBSD 7, so Wilson School Board District 7 community. Mr. Junt has asked that we share this email message with you. Dear board members, after extensive and thoughtful discussion with my team, I have made the decision to resign as the president of the school board. I intend on completing my term as a board member that runs through June 30th, 2025. Procenderally, I don't know how to say that word. Procedurally. Procedurally, thank you. Mr. Renner will assume the president of the school board position upon the board acting on my resignation at the February 12th meeting. There will be an agenda item on the February 12th meeting regarding my resignation as the officer of the board, as well as board action to elect a new VP to the school board. The new board leadership team will serve until July 2024 annual meeting of the board, at which point in time election of officers is held during the annual meeting. This has been a difficult decision to make, but one that I feel is the best interest of the district. I believe a new leader at the president position can bring a different leadership style as well as perspective and vision to the district moving forward. Mr. Renner is more than capable of assuming this role, and I hope that the board will provide him the same level of support that you have provided me since first being elected president of the board. I am committed to providing any necessary support to the new leadership team during this transition period. It has been a highlight of my professional career being able to lead a school board, a special group, I apologize, a special group of people through what has been historic transformation of Williston's education system. This board has accomplished many great things. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Best regards, Chris Junt. So there's a lot there to take in. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of discussion on the school board in the last couple years, actually, with the audit that came out and different things, money missing. I mean, I don't think we need to sit here and talk about any of that. I mean, it's all pretty well documented in what happened a couple weeks ago with when people started to stand up and ask for resignations there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I know there's a lot of people that would probably disagree with Mr. Junt's statement on um, the board accomplishing many great things. I guess one of the questions I would ask is if they've accomplished so many things, why will you not answer questions? Why will you not come on to shows and be interviewed just besides the ones that'll only ask you the questions that you want them to ask? I mean, if that's the case, Mr. Junt, why won't you come and talk? Why won't you answer the difficult questions? So with that, Marvin, I don't know, you have anything to add?
Yeah, my kind of closing thought of the week is because we are in election season.
Mm-hmm.
The post that I put up yesterday on our page about the Zappo rule, with the FCC no longer enforcing the Equal Airtime or the Fairness Act. That wasn't about anything specific, folks. But when I made my run for office, it was something that I ran into, and it's something that I've heard other candidates where you have Scott Hennon or some of the other groups, K-Fire or whatever, where they'd only have X amount of candidates on, but they wouldn't interview their opponents.
Yeah.
And it used to be where every minute of airtime somebody got, their opponent was supposed to receive the same amount of time. That's been dead since 2014. The only thing that remains of that is equal advertising. So now, as long as you're paying for the same amount of time and the same amount of minutes, that's the only way you're going to get your equal airtime. With that said, if you are trying to get your airtime and you're sitting and fighting and sitting and fighting and sitting and fighting, like, we are more than welcome to interview candidates. We want you on, whether we agree with you or not. We've had one DPI candidate on. If Kirsten wants to come on for an hour and a half or however long we had Jason on and talk, that's fine. I'm working on trying to get Jim on with us. We're not going to run him off the show. We want to hear it, whether it takes 10 minutes for an interview or an hour and a half. Because people need to be able to tell their story. People need to be able to tell why they're running for stuff. And I know I don't get all excited on camera, but when I'm excited about something, usually my vocabulary gets a little bit more ranch shop kitchen-y. So, and Shiloh's heard the conversations. Yeah. So, yes, I try and stay monotone when we're talking. Yes, I try and stay monotone when we're doing the show. But like this Williston thing, I've been tracking since 2020. There's a lot of stuff I follow, folks. But I've had the rule, and it's the same thing I've told Shiloh. If I can't prove it 100%, I'm not going to talk about it. So with tonight's show, go read the Prairie Blog, please. educate yourself on what's been going on out there, because obviously David can't tell his own story while he's still in court. Understand how important his case is for setting legal precedent.
Yeah.
Because if they do it there, they can do it to you. I want that.
And it's coming.
If they can do it there, they can do it to you. That's my closing thoughts. Like, this is what you need to know. The only other thing that I have to say, folks, go out, find Nicole's page, Nicole Enberg, and watch her Prove Me Wrong series.
Yep.
She's got 1,800 files she's going through. Go watch it.
It's legit stuff.
It is.
And it's not just scores. It's talking about, that's the other thing. We're not supposed to say Common Core. Kind of like we're not supposed to say the other C word, but
erased the name and wrote North Dakota Standard.
When I ran for school board 2 years ago and I brought up Common Core, people are like, well, that doesn't exist. So we actually took the Common Core description and the North Dakota regulation. It was the same thing, except Common Core wasn't on the title. That's the same thing.
That's the question I forgot to ask Shiloh, or ask Jason Shiloh.
What?
If you, as DPI, find out that you have an employee that's in your upper management staff that is creating aliases, going out into the Facebook groups, try and push your agenda like Common Core, would you fire? So we got to remember that if we have Jim on.
Yep. And I'm sure we'll have Jason on again, so we can ask him then.
Yeah.
But wow, what a night. What a night. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was a good interview, I think. And I look forward to having David on some more. So Friday's show, who do we have? Alexis Wangler.
She prefers Lexi.
Lexi?
Yes. Okay. Lexi Wangler of Health Freedom, North Dakota.
There you go.
We still have a Tuesday opening here. I'd like to get Jim on for the DPI. If not, there's a couple other people I'm going to reach out to, but I've kind of been holding that spot. The Friday afterwards is the District 14 candidates. So we're going to get them on right before their convention so you can meet them. District 14's up out of that Harvey area. Come on. These are 3 brand new people that want to represent their state, represent their district at the Capitol. So I bumped into Chris at church on Sunday. She was in town for something. She walked up to me during the morning greeting and was like, "Hi, Marvin." I'm like, "Oh, hi." So it's very nice meeting her in person. But yeah, other than that, keep moving forward. We're going to see a lot of exciting stuff coming up. A lot of interesting stuff. I'm kind of leery about the lack of attendance at district meetings. I'm seeing
do you think
a lot of conservatives, but I'm not seeing a lot that aren't.
Do you think that the lack of people showing up, attendance, is because the lack of incumbents showing up to their own endorsing conventions and just going straight to the primary?
I'm scared we're starting to see the true split, because if you remember right after 22, a lot of the establishment was saying this was the last endorsing convention that there would ever be in North Dakota.
Yep.
There was
a lot of talk of that, yes.
Was a lot of talk of it. And now with Perry starting his legendary fund and going off on his own, and the lack of quote unquote establishment or moderate showing up to endorsing conventions, I have a feeling we're going to see something happen here.
I would agree. And then you add all the tactics that were used. I mean, you can however you want to say that, but let's be honest, there is from stalling to the busloads of people showing up. You know, it was
See,
it was a circus.
that was the best thing about being a guest, Shiloh.
Yeah,
As a guest, I could leave the convention hall.
really.
Well, you guys were all stuck inside. So, like, I know the buses were there because I was standing outside when they pulled up.
Yeah,
I was standing outside when they left.
yeah, I hear you. Well, folks, we'll see you Friday. We'll have Lexi Wrangler on, so we'll see you 8 o'clock Central Time Friday night. Hope to see you there. Have a great evening and a blessed rest of your week.